Hi, Nostalgia Buffs. I'm here to review the sequel to 70s Music Explosion, 80s Music Explosion. This one was released in 2008, about 3 years after 70s Music Explosion. And I found out about this not from my infomercial, but because I listen to 70s Music Explosion all the time, but I like the 80s better, and I looked it up, and it's been almost 15 years now that I've had this one. Got it in 2009, and I'm going to clear up some embarrassing mistakes I made in the 70s Music Explosion video. One, that song I didn't mention to you by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons on disc 1 was Oh What a Night, December 1963. And second, I didn't name another song, the one that I described as sounding like a most idyllic place in the city at dusk. It sounded like I was still talking about I'm Not in Love, but I was talking about Baby Come Back. And then when I said Let Your Love Throw was the Everly Brothers, I meant the Bellamy Brothers. And of course, when I said Jefferson Airplane became Jefferson Starship and then Starship in the 60s, I meant the 80s. And I said that's Helen Reddy by Delta Dawn, but I meant, of course, that's Delta Dawn by Helen Reddy. But I kind of cleared that up without saying it when I was reviewing the song. There are some of the mistakes I'm going to clear up. Now, yeah, some people think the 80s was the best decade. It was quoted once as the age of MTV, ET, and Mr. T. And it was the age of, Cheers, and Family Ties, and Growing Pains. Well, some of it was in the 90s. And then it was the age of the power suits, the jazzercise, the summer camp movies, the Sizzler, the creation of invention of the minivan, and those big hair hard rock bands. And the age of Atari and NES, Nintendo, and the creation of Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong. And I think of it as a time when if you went to a Greasy Spoon or fast food type place, they had a little paper cups with leaves on them. And it was the age of Van Halen and Toto and Styx and Huey Lewis and the News and Def Leppard, John Cougar Mellencamp, Tom Petty, and styles, I think, and ways of dress for men, women, and children that I think are definitely better than today's, no offense. It was also sometimes called the decade of excess, the age of the Brat Pack. And the late 80s, I became nostalgic for the 80s, kind of because the vaguest memories I have as a little child, but honestly, that was either the early 90s, the very early 90s, or the late 80s, which, of course, was more like the 90s with when we had a music like No Sleep Till Brooklyn and Waiting for a Star to Fall and MC Hammer and Milli Vanilli. And shows that we associate more with the 90s started like Full House and Roseanne and Coach. And then like the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and DuckTales. And Nickelodeon shows that I remember when Nickelodeon was kind of in its heyday, like Hey Dude. Unless you're a Nickelodeon fan from the 90s, you might not get what I'm talking about. But anyway, I lost the box to 80s Music Explosion. Sadly, it got so worn out and beaten up that this is what it looked like. And I held on to it as long as I could. And again, this is mostly pop music, but there is a couple heavy metal songs. There's no So you like there's no Van Halen or Def Leppard type. But I'll begin with the first one. Hold on a minute. Shake it up. And here's the CD. And here's the second CD. You see the first and second CDs have the same colors, but kind of contrast where they're dispersed. And the first one is the fun pop and rock blended, kind of pointless Owner of a Lonely Heart from 1983. And in these notes here, there's actually pictures. So I'm going to show you some of these people. And song 2, the really mellow, feel-good, Biggest Part of Me from 1980. And Take on Me by Aha, kind of the quintessential party pop music, I'd say. Like, you picture being at some dance party somewhere at nighttime. And Against All Odds, Take a Look at Me Now by the kind of the other king of pop, the soulful mellow pop, Phil Collins. I kind of enjoy most of his songs. There's him in his heyday, I guess. And then I Love a Rainy Night. That's kind of an electrifying country and pop and rock crossover with this electric guitar. Eddie Rabbitt, I think, was categorized as country, but I think he was more pop, and I think he bears at least a passing resemblance to Kenny Loggins, and maybe because they were both tall and had dark hair and a beard. And the super mellow, tranquil, Holding Back the Years by Simply Red. That's R-E-D, not R-E-A-D. And they also sang the quite funny bass heavy, Money's Too Tight to Mention. Now I think one of the best Beach Boys songs is Kokomo. It's from 1988, quite a long time after their heyday. And Wild Wild West by the Escape Club. It's got some pretty fun, exhilarating music, and, well, I don't know if exhilarating is the right word, but kind of wants you to get up and move around. And it's got some fun Old West sound effects, but the Wild Wild West song kind of has bothered me. And Love Song by The Cure. That's a fine electric guitar, and this is when they were going through kind of a dark phase. The sound might be kind of bleak, but the words are nice. And California is by Van Halen's David Lee Roth. Yeah, later Sammy Hagar replaced him, and then I believe he came back. I certainly like the David Lee Roth days of Van Halen better, and with his energetic rock voice, I think this is actually better than the original Beach Boys version of California Girls. Actually, this set is where I first heard of David Lee Roth, and when I found out he was the lead singer for Van Halen. And Arthur's Theme, a good little ballad with some good piano, and the by Christopher Cross. If you say that name, I've had people be confused with Chris Cross of Jump Jump fame from the 90s. He has that high mellow voice. He did songs like Sailing and Ride Like the Wind. Oh, there he is right there. Yep. The snappy Shake It Up by the Cars. Really poppy band from Boston. Also, songs I think of as Just What I Needed and You Might Think and Let the Good Times Roll. No One Is to Blame, a really mellow, relaxing, tranquil song with a nice piano and other instruments. And it's by Howard Jones, who you might know one of his other songs, Things Can Only Get Better, and I think he bore a somewhat of a resemblance to Randy Travis physically. Life in Northern Town, that's certainly got a neat chorus sound there. It sounds like a Tribe from the Serengeti. And the really low-key pop song, Steal Away. Number 2, Back on the Chain Gang by the girl group The Pretenders. I only say it that way because musical groups and music seem to be very male dominated, and they were described as a rock band. I don't really hear it in their music. I also know they sang "What My City Was Gone" and "Don't Get Me Wrong" and "Pockets and Brass" and La Bamba. Can't help but get up and dance and have some good feelings with that one. I think it's better than the original one. This came out for the movie La Bamba in 1987. And then kind of a trippy song of Euphoria that maybe makes you feel like you've taken Ambien and haven't gone to bed. She Drives Me Crazy with this unmistakable synthesizer sound by a band with a pretty crass and weird name, Fine Young Cannibals, but they got their name from a 60s movie with Robert Wagner. And the up-tempo Gloria by Laura Branigan, I think that was in Flashdance. All I Need, that's another soulful kind of kissy face one, but this isn't the 70s music explosion. Thank goodness I didn't just say that. And ooh ah doo doo kitty, the toe tapping boy from New York City, but that's Manhattan Transfer. I guess that's not the original version. My mom said she liked the Manhattan Transfer. And Only in My Dreams by the late 80s teen sensation Debbie Gibson, also known for stuff like Shake My Love. She looked like a nice girl. I wonder if she was another pop rat. You don't know behind the smile and the music. And then Please Don't Go, a more smooth mellow number by Casey and the Sunshine Band, and the riveting inspirational St. Elmo's Fire from the movie St. Elmo's Fire. I didn't really see that one. I used to want to. I know it's about young adults who graduated college and they're having a hard time coping with life. I'm sure there's a lot of F words and some violence and fistfights. And then electric piano, heavy Break My Stride. And then it sounds like a basketball song, but that's what I would have experienced in the 90s rather than the mid 80s, but it still got a similar sound to it, I think. It sounds like they use some synthesizers there. It's by New Shoes. We're from Portland. That wouldn't be worth mentioning. Portland's just another big city, but I spent my first 21 years in the Portland area. And Like the Weather, just a low-key song with some light percussion, very light percussion, and then by the inane group that you gotta love, that Weird Al's made fun of in Dare to Be Stupid by Devo, Whip It. Let the Music Play, kind of a strong dance number there, I think, that's kind of ominous sounding. And really relaxing and breezy tune to Hill Street Blues. Now we're on to Sunglasses at Night. Almost something there to remind me. Just, I think, kind of a basic, kind of a essential pop song from the 80s. And then the mesmerizing, eerie Betty Davis eyes. Bet you love to fall asleep listening to that song. I did. And Missing You by John Waite. Kind of a pop song with some electric guitar in there that I really didn't hear until I bought this collection, actually. The jazzy Morning Train 9 to 5 by Sheena Easton. I think she sang something from a James Bond movie like Diamonds Are Forever, and I know in All Dogs Go to Heaven too, she did the lead of the female lead character, and in the original movie that was Lonnie Anderson, and Burt Reynolds was Charlie the dog, and in the part 2 it was Charlie Sheen. I Just Died in Your Arms, that dramatic orchestral song with some rock mixed in there. One of the first songs I remember when I was actually able to start identifying 80s music. Let's Dance by that off-the-wall David Bowie. Not a bad little dance song with some light percussion and bass there. And We Belong by Pat Benatar. I kind of think of her for really dramatic, expressive music. And like Shadows of the Night and Heartbreaker and Love is Battlefield and We Belong. And she did a really edgy one that spoke out against child abuse. Kind of a creepy sounding one called Hell is for Children around 1980. But I think her best was actually Hit Me With Your Best Shot. That's what I would have put in this one instead of We Belong. But never a bad song, I don't think. And Queen of Hearts there by country, quote, country singer Juice Newton. Now, the 80s, as I might have said, was a time when country music largely stopped sounding like country music and started blending with pop and light rock. And True from 16 Candles. That's an okay little ballad, but not something I would have written home about when the movie, if I saw the movie when it came out. And Sunglasses at Night with that distinctive ominous bass and tone by Corey Hart. He also sang a kind of a upbeat, inspirational one called Never Surrender. But it didn't occur to me how stupid that song was until my mom says, that has got to be one of the dumbest songs I've ever heard. Sunglasses at Night. Singing it because I think he's trying to hide his emotions when he's watching his significant other who he thinks is being unfaithful to him. And the bass line at the beginning can really confuse people for Sweet Dreams. Oh, and Eurythmics is not on this collection. How about that? There's also no Journey or Hall & Oates. Too bad. Straight Up by Paula Abdul, that kind of rap dance blend is another sign that the 80s was becoming the 90s in 1988 by Paula Abdul. photographed right there. She also sang other songs like that, like I think Opposites Attract. Now we got solid, a lot of some funk and soul in that song. And If You Leave, I think that's the better of these movie tracks on this CD. That was from Pretty in Pink. Saw that movie once, and I saw it sung 16 Candles once. I think Pretty in Pink is a better movie, and film critic Leonard Maltin agrees. I think he considers that one of the better Brat Pack movies. And The Tide is High by one of the early punk rock groups, Blondie. That kind of sound of that reminds me of being in the Tiki 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 room at Disneyland. And that's a kind of, I'd say, loud pop number with strong percussions. And a lot of expression in it is a C'est la vie. In the 80s, I think they had kind of chose unique lyrics and names for some songs, like that's one of them. And then next is one of my favorite groups in the 80s, Huey Lewis and the News, based from San Francisco. I think they were a mix of, I describe them as jazz and light rock. Yep, that's Huey right there in the middle. They were he had a really unique voice. It sounded electronic. Like when I heard it, I'm like, is that a real voice? He did sound kind of like Randy Newman, who sang the Toy Story songs and I Love LA and stuff. And he's also been compared to Bruce Hornsby, who I'll get to later. They were kind of known. They were known for other songs like "The Power of Love" and the other song in Back to the Future. And Huey Lewis actually had a cameo near the beginning as one of the judges of the demo Marty McFly was playing, and he said, he raised his microphone and said, "I'm afraid you're just too darn loud." And they're also known for, songs like "Hip to Be Square" and "Do You Believe in Love," "Working for a Living," "Trouble in Paradise," and of course, this is "I Want a New Drug." I think that's a great one with some heavy percussion and some electric guitar, and Huey's pretty raucous in that. His sound is pretty raucous in that one. I actually first knew about Huey Lewis when I was about 11, and I was still into those Disney movies a lot, and he sang the opening song Once Upon a Time in New York City, and that's actually where I first learned about Billy Joel, because he did the voice of the Artful Dodger, which really came into use when he sang Why Should I Worry. That was unusual because he never acted other than doing that voice. I guess his daughter wanted him to do the voice, and they knew they'd be singing in that movie. Oh, and next, Karma Chameleon by that flamboyant Boy George or Culture Club. I don't mean flamboyant in an offensive way. I mean like he was just a really flashy guy. And then White Wedding, that's a guitar heavy. I think that's a downright rock by Billy Idol. It got a strong kind of intense rhythm to it, I think. How and some definitely raucous singing and shouting. It reminds me of Rock Band. And then another famous, pretty well-known 80s pop group is Duran Duran. Here they sing Is There Something I Should Know? Most probably known for Hungry Like the Wolf. And I would have picked Hungry Like the Wolf or Rio or The Reflex or The Beginning of the Snake. But this Is There Something I Should Know? It's not a bad one either. And the really soft, smooth Only the Lonely. And we have the upbeat Mickey, that song everybody knows, that makes you want to get up and party. Or at least just move around a little if you want to have fun and you're a low-key kind of person. But I'm 90% sure the Disney Store played that song at one point. They sometimes sang popular songs and mixed in lyrics that had to do with Disney characters. And next is kind of like groovy but really inappropriate Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. Then Buffalo Stance. Ooh, makes you want to... Seems like he'd be at a basketball game. It seems like something the dance girls would sing at halftime from around 89. There's more evidence that of the 80s becoming the 90s in that era. That part of the 80s. And the pretty groovy and mellow Sexy Eyes by Dr. Hook. And this has a disco sound to it, and so you'll see that it technically came out in 1979, but maybe it hit the charts in 1980. But I think the second half of 1979 is actually when disco died. So I've heard. And kind of another grooving song that makes you want to have a band in the back alleyways and bang on garbage cans. It's Stray Cat Strut by Stray Cats, who sing "Rock This Town, Rock It Inside Out." Then there's some fun keyboard and light percussions there, but this might not pass muster today. The Turning Japanese, that's from 1980, and Some Like It Hot, something that makes you want to bang on the hot tub or bang on the wood when you're in the sauna. Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on. Some feel the heat and decide that they can't go on, but also pretty chill and mellow. And one of the wisest feel-good songs ever written, Don't Worry, Be Happy. And folks, that is Sunglasses at Night. Now here is Together Forever. I think this was my album. Some of us have, might have songs or dates that they think are their songs, their date, or their album. This seems to be my album. Maybe I think it's the best album, but it's called Together Forever. And that also, incidentally, was the name of a LDS video that came out around the same time in 87 or 88. And number one starts out with the quintessential dance song, Walk Like an Egyptian, with some Egyptian sound effects and neat percussion and gongs in it by the Bangles, who sometimes I'd confuse them with the Go-Go's, kind of that same kind of girl band from the era. And another one that comes to mind is from them is Manic Monday. No, not Manic Monday. Eternal Flame, which was late in the 80s. And some kicking club type Caribbean music. Caribbean Queen, No More Love on the Run by Billy Ocean, also known for Get Out of My Dreams and Into My Car later in the 80s. And Down Under by a group some know but weren't a huge hit, called Men at Work, known for songs like Who Can It Be Now and Overkill. And I was really into Australia when I was young, probably in the mid-90s, and that's about 95. That's when Outback Steakhouse started having a decent presence in the United States. And, you know, in the 80s, there was movies like, there was kind of a fascination with the Outback, and there was the movie Crocodile Dundee, and that actually led to the creation of Outback Steakhouse by people who had never even been to Australia. And then Australia also makes me think of the movie The Rescuers Down Under, which I think I probably watched every other day when I was little. I come from a land down under, where rivers flow in the jungle. Can't you fear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover. You can really get into the music in that song, I think. Really want to move with it. And Let's Hear It for the Boy. That song really reminds my mom of teaching Mutual in the era with the teenage boys and teenage girls. Well, boys and girls as young as 12 too. Let's hear it for the boy. Let's give the boy a hand. It makes you want to move every part of your body with the lights moving around on the floor. Pretty feel-good pop number there. And Wishing Well by, well, I can't even pronounce the name, but he's got quite a strong raspy voice there, maybe. Making love, a wishing well, a kiss and tell. And number 6, Africa by Toto. You know, sometimes I confuse Toto for REO Speedwagon, but I think REO Speedwagon had more of a nice sound to them. And it was Joseph Williams that was the lead singer of Toto, and not Joey something, which I said on my earlier video about the Lion King trading cards. He did the singing voice for Simba and the Lion King. That's got definitely some strong yearning and feeling, which is kind of made more exuberant by the soft guitar, the electric guitar, and percussions that sound like the Serengeti. But the meaning of it, I think maybe the analogy and what he's really feeling is kind of never completely made sense to me. And then Bruce Hornsby in the Range. Bruce Hornsby's here. There's Men at Work. I didn't show you those guys. And Billy Ocean, kind of neglecting the pictures of the people there. There's the Bangos. And there is the guy I'm going to talk about now, Bruce Hornsby, a Bruce Hornsby in the Range. Kind of a pretty talented piano player with some pretty nice piano in this song. His song was speaking out against the way the rich sometimes spit upon the poor, and the speaking up for the civil rights movement. Kind of, I think the piano and the music, and he's got a rich baritone voice that really gets you in the kind of sympathize with him, and you can play along with it's that kind of maybe I don't know, catchy's the word. It's got some good rhythm that can evoke a lot of thought in your mind that makes you want to get up and move around too. But ultimately in the song, it sounds like a pessimistic narrative, but he's saying, but don't you believe them? And then next is Rick Springfield, Don't Talk to Strangers. Probably his most known song is Jesse's Girl, and I've Done Everything for You, I think, is the best of the 3 songs that I know. But this is not a bad song, and with strong percussion and electric guitar, and the tone he inflects with the singing. Don't talk to strangers. You know he'll only use you. Don't talk. Don't talk. And he was in some TV show around then, I think. I never saw him. He was kind of a heartthrob, but my mom kind of thinks of him like a. I'm not going to say anything that would do a disservice to him. And then there's Funky Town. It's got more of a synthesizer sound to it, and a different kind of heavy beat to it, but it's not the original one by Lip Sync from 1979. This is from 1986. Oh, won't you take you to a funky town? Won't you take me to a funky town? I don't think it's quite as good as the original one, personally. And Goody Two Shoes, just kind of a fast-paced toe dancing song, I think. And The Warrior, that soulful, strong percussions and poppy sound was what I think that's what they played for Charles Barkley during Suns games. I don't know if it was when he got called out of the game or what, and putting on the Ritz. Kind of a catchy little remake of a old song, maybe going back to the 30s or even the 20s. It's a very faint bass line and instruments I can't really make out. And then one nauseating song, Every Time You Go Away, take a piece. I don't think that's a bad song, but you know what I've heard about those soft kissy face pop songs from 70s Music Explosion. Now we're on to disc 2. It's none other than Kenny Loggins and exuberant, fast-paced, Footloose. You know, I remember hearing that in a store when I was about 9 in the grocery store. Not the first time I heard it, but I'm like, I said, Mom, do you like the song? She just said, I love it. You know, that movie seems like it would have come out in the summer or fall, but oddly enough, it came out in February. And the 867-5309 seems like either a hardcore pop or even rock with a kind of a pretty strong, passionate vibe to it. 867-5309, and it's one of those bands that sounds like a person, but then you look closely at the last name, Tommy Two Tone. Two Tone's not really a name. And it's nice that this song avoided the old 5550 phone number trope. And then Philip Bailey and Phil Collins. Oh, you know what? This 80s Music Explosion set was 150 songs by 150 quote-unquote different artists, but that's not entirely true because we have the Go-Go's and Belinda Carlisle in this set, and Belinda Carlisle was the lead singer, and we have this is Phil Bailey featuring Phil Collins, this Easy Lover song with strong electric guitar filling and bass line and strong beat and rhythm. Easy lover, you get your heart but you won't feel it. She's like no other. And Phil Collins being more raucous here. And number 4, Ghostbusters. Yeah, who doesn't love that song? And you know what? I remember a lawsuit you might have heard of where they went to court over Huey Lewis and Ray Parker over how he thinks that the song was plagiarized from I Want a New Drug, because they say they sounded almost alike. I think the bass line is the only, and some of maybe the keyboard instruments sound alike, but I don't see how it's just like such a blatant ripoff. And Kiri was by Mr. Mister, who sang Broken Wings. Now, a song that kind of shouts out some strong feeling from the singer and the listeners. And kind of a... like you're... kind of like... seems like you're driving around the highway at the nighttime going up to a mountain. It's actually about a Catholic prayer in conga, one that someone might have to restrain you if you weren't supposed to get up and dance and tap to that. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. By Miami Sound Machine. And you know, early on when I had this set and we were listening to it on a road trip, my brother's like, this sounds like a Chuck E. Cheese song. And a really sentimental, well sung, well played, Baby I Love Your Way. And then Together Forever by that rich baritone Rick Astley. Song with a pretty good rhythm and harmony there. Rick Astley was also known for the songs Never Gonna Give You Up and She Wants to Dance With Me. Never Gonna Give You Up is probably his most well known, and you might remember there was an internet prank around 2008 called Rickrolling, where you would click on a link to something, but you'd be misled and go to a music video of Never Gonna Give You Up. And then We Built This City. That's just a odyssey of instruments and engaging rhythm there. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. That's from a Starship. And I was talking about them earlier. At first, they were Jefferson Airplane. And here's the one, one of two heavy metal songs on here. And it's always been interesting to me that they decided to put it on this set, the Together Forever, and not the following one, We Got the Beat or something. This looks like the soft, sentimental music, the CD Together Forever, and with the name, too. That's a kind of fun. It's awfully intense, and there's definitely a raucous, and there's a big feeling of revolt from Quiet Riot in that song. And sometimes he shouts about like he's one of the loudest heavy metal singers there is. And A Flock of Seagulls, I think it was a pretty fun song. This new wave with a new wave beat. I Ran So Far Away by A Flock of Seagulls, but I think the meaning is kind of corny. You know, hush, hush, keep it down, down, voices carry. Kind of a feel-good pop song that could be a pop lullaby, I think. And then there's Pretty in Pink, the title track from Pretty in Pink. I think it might have a bluesy or jazzy sound, the bass line to it. And it's a song that makes you think of jumping on the top of your car at night when you're driving through a city and dancing and shouting to, celebrating your cool, lighthearted, fun side. What I Like About You by the Romantics, who, what I know about them, they also sang Talking in Your Sleep. And then I Don't Like Mondays. Kind of a pop song with the singer's tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why. It sounds like it could have been in a musical rather than first coming on the radio. I gave you a preview of this. We Got the Beat. Oh, is there anybody I didn't show you in here? Yeah. We got the beat, we got the beat, we got the beat. First is a pop-heavy, kind of strong bass line, Maniac from Flashdance, and that high enthusiasm yeah, that's We Got the Beat. That's Go-Go's. Kind of a fun, high enthusiasm, lighthearted pop number with a good little bass line and guitar and strong guitar riffs there. Go-Go is also saying stuff like Vacation. Vacation's all I ever wanted. Vacation had to get... Actually, I like that one even better. I think I would have had that instead of We Got the Beat. But We Got the Beat does remind me of Rock Band. And the kind of disco, past the age of disco, the rhythm heavy She Works Hard for the Money by Donna Summer. And another group from Portland, Quarter Flash, Harden My Heart. Kind of a cross between some light jazz and electric guitar. Still, I'd call it pop. I wouldn't call it rock. Kind of a... Darling, in my wildest dreams, I never... Definitely a song where they seem to be venting, but not in a really raucous way. Kind of a song that might get you in the groove. And I think one of Cher's better songs, If I Could Turn Back Time. And the kind of flashy pop version of I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. Originally, this isn't the version I knew, but now it's mostly what I think of when I hear I Think We're Alone Now. Tiffany, later the voice of Judy in the Jetsons movie. And I Can Dream About You. That's kind of a corny song for my mom, but I kind of enjoyed it anyway. I can dream about you if I can't hold you tonight. I can dream about you. Kind of like a song with a cheerful spirit to it. Kind of put you in one of those too. And Tempted by Squeeze, that was a kind of an offbeat group there. Tempted by the fruit of another. When they sang songs like Cool for Cats in the late 70s and Pulling Muscles from a Shell in 1980. Definitely different, I think. And Luca, kind of a tranquil little melody you might That reminds you of a peaceful night. A lot of songs through my lifetime I've pictured being set at nighttime, but oftentimes they're not set at any time of the day, and we have no idea when they're recorded too. And she's not really a stalker. I don't think this is a stalker song. It's just more about a girl who lives in an apartment and has kind of been noticing this guy who lives above her and would like to get to know him. Maybe have a relationship. And Let It Whip, kind of a cross between soul and pop and rap there. And then another light, breezy one with a kind of a positive, upbeat feeling by Joe Jackson, who sang "Is She Really Going Out" with him in 1978, Stepping Out. Out of all the darkness in our lives, you taxi turns to me and smiles. Mist across the window hides the light. That's how it starts. But nothing hides the color of the lights that shine. Pretty classy sounding song there. Now, boy, a lot of time's gone by. Yeah, the One Thing Leads to Another by The Fix. Quite a mix there of a heavy instrument play, maybe electric guitar and synthesizers. Sounds I can't identify, but definitely a pop sound that seems to be teetering on rock. That's by The Fix. They were an English new wave group who also sang stuff like Saved by Zero. And that song is, I think, about a man who's overly cautious, kind of paranoid about people lying to him and using him. And I know there's something going on. Pretty dramatic and ominous sounding performance there by Frida of ABBA. That kind of could evoke strong feelings in anybody about whatever's on their mind. And then the fun but pretty raunchy Obsession. Sometimes I just skip this song, but the heavy percussion and guitar could make just about anybody want to leave it on. And the smooth and light No More Words by Berlin. Seems like a one you'd play at definitely at a dance party or at a roller skating rink. You imagine a lot of lights and glitter when you hear it. And, you know, I think I missed Centerfold by the Jay Giles Band from disc 1 of the Sunglasses at Night, Did I? Song where you imagine a big room full of balloons. Everybody's dancing and singing. Well, if that's the only mistake I've made so far, I'm doing pretty good. Now, disc 2. A lot of rhythm and heart and soul there. Heaven is a place on earth, and that could really taps into your sentimental side and even your spiritual side by Belinda Carlisle of Go-Go's. See, Belinda Carlisle sang more than one song in this collection. And the riveting Eye of the Tiger by Survivor from Rocky 3. Also, they were known for stuff like I Can't Hold Back, Is This Love That I'm Feeling, and High on You. And Shout by Tears for Fears. Let me get to that. I'm going to show you the Go-Go's first. And there's Berlin. Donna Summer. Okay. Now let me read Shout by Tears for Fears, the British duo with that kind of distinctive baritone sound. I'm going to read what the notes say about this because this is a good song. Tears for Fears. I'm going to skip that. Based its biggest hit on the psychotherapist's infamous primal pain theory. Shout certainly cured the masses with 3 weeks at number 1 in 1985. Shout, shout, let it all out. These are the things. Kind of got a pop and new wave sound that makes you want to scream to anyone that's been bullying you or mistreating you or using you, no matter how shy you might be. Tears for Fears is also known for stuff like Head Over Heels, Sowing the Seeds of Love, and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And there's the safety dance. If you leave your friends online. That is a fun song that seems to combine multiple styles of fun, engaging dance music. But when you listen to words, the safety dance, it seems like a really structured dance and that you're under some sort of regimen at a military academy by some hard-nosed instructor. And The Look of Love, Part 1. Got a heavy pop beat. You might know the song. I don't know if I can do it any justice describing it, but you'll know it when you hear it. It's by ABC. When their world is full of strange arrangements and gravity won't pull you through, you know you're missing out on something. That's something. It sounds to be teetering on rap too, by ABC, also known for songs like Be Near Me, and I think they did Poison Arrow. And My Prerogative by Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown is known for humping around in 1992, so is another one of those rebellious, abrasive rap music. And if you hear it, it makes sense that it's the late 80s, 1988, I believe. And then the Sweet Valentine of a pop song, Never Knew Love Like This by Stephanie Mills. She also sang the song for Fletch, Bit by Bit. And one of the great rap songs, the prototype for Can't Touch This by Rick James, Super Freak. Oh, there's Mr. Bobby Brown. And there is Mr. Rick James. Red, red wine. Song's rhythm and words can really play on the sentimental person, like It Always Has Me. It's by UB40. Some people confuse it for being by Bob Marley, but UB40 sang Here I Am, Baby in 1990. That song's long struck a sentimental chord with me, even a bittersweet chord, probably since I was 16, for a nostalgic person like me. And kind of sang to whatever I was going through in my life. Yeah, you gotta fight for your right to party. Yeah, I forget. Sabotage was another one of them, and of course, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. But this, I think, is their best one. if you look past them encouraging looking at porno mags, I just love the electric guitar and bass and percussions and kind of aggressive singing. And that's a pretty kicking theme to a Miami Vice show I never seen. And the kind of offbeat sounding I Got You, it kind of sounds like a typical lonely 80s nerd is singing it. I got you from Split Ends from Australia. That's all I want. Won't forget now that you're. I don't know why sometimes I get frightened. Kind of conjures up quaint images of what the early 80s was like, though, from 1980. And then In a Big Country, which definitely has a electric guitar bass that can get you interested in whatever you're thinking about and sings to your emotions with the percussions throughout. This is by Big Country, actually, was the name of their band. And I found out about Big Country, actually, when I was about 18, and I was looking for a compilation CD of 90s country called Big Country, which I soon found. This song is about, I think, fighting depression and someone kind of showing things that you have to live for. And I think one of the dumbest pop songs ever made. I know what boys like. Then pass the doochie on the left and right. Kind of got a Jamaican feel to it. Is there anyone in here I just had to show you? You know what Sherry looked like. Most of you. Now, this last set is not a set, it's just one CD. I should mention there's 10 CDs, 4 sets, and then the last 2 are individual sets are individual CDs. This one is Everybody Have Fun Tonight. And the first one is the kind of engaging Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club, and there is the lead singer, Jim Kerr. Another one of them songs I know is Alive and Kicking. And Everybody Have Fun Tonight, one of the biggest party songs that everyone's got to like to some extent, by Wang Chung, who was also just sang Dance Hall Days. And I've heard that their name choice might not be acceptable nowadays. And the really sentimental both the music and how it might make you feel, Lady in Red by someone named Krista Berg. When I started playing Song Quiz, I remember they said, like, only 17% of people got the bonus points on that one, guessing the singer's name. And Looking for a New Love, Baby, a new love, yeah. Kind of that pop and rap mix that sounded like it was when we were moving towards the 90s. And Joanna by Kool and the Gang, the Celebration Band. This isn't a bad, more low-key number, but well, so that sucks compared to Celebration. And then the pretty song with a kind of loud, almost aggressive sound to it, with a kind of a strong intensity and feeling and vivid imagery of city life. You Belong to the City by Glenn Frey of the Eagles. Kind of celebrating maybe the rough, dangerous life on the edge that some of us have enjoyed experiencing in life. Like, it makes me picture Raphael in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from 1990. And then the really good kind of a hard rock ballad, if that were a thing, called Sister Christian by Night Ranger. Just the harmony and piano, it's all really makes you feel good and engaged in the whole tone of the song, and people growing up and moving on, succeeding and going places in life. This is actually sung from the perspective of the brother. That's what they call it, Sister Christian. What I Am, it's got kind of a bohemian sound to it. Choke me in the shallow water. What I am is what I am. Kind of a brash, defiant tone there. It's a pretty good one. And next is number 9, Caught Up in You by 38 Special. It sounds like a kind of a light rock song you hear in clubs at night. Like maybe the adult contemporary category. They also sang Hold On Loosely, which I think almost sounds like the same song, and Rockin' Onto the Night, 38 Special. Future So Bright, I Got to Wear Shade, with that constant poppy percussion sound. That was in the movie Tommy Boy. Like a little over halfway through the movie, when David Spade's character stopped being an abusive jerk to Tommy, and they both started getting along. When they were continuing on the road trip, and this pretty ominous sounding Somebody's Watching Me with background vocals by Michael Jackson. They've got a pretty fun sound, kind of like Halloween music. And then a really fast-paced, intensified heavy dance number there. Forever, Fame by Irene Cara, who actually also sang Flashdance, What a Feeling. That really expresses intensity about passion, people's passions in life. And then you Keep Me Hanging On has I think maybe a really tranquil keyboard sound, and the singing and electric guitar, although it's kind of rock, it's got a pretty it's got a feeling for sentimental nostalgia, I think. That's a Kim Wilde, and this was a remake of a 60s song. And then Asia's Heat of the Moment, they also sang Only Time Will Tell, and that rock and guitar sound and the feeling inflected just kind of speaks to everyone about anything that's weighing on their mind, whether good or bad, or it just seems to light a fire within them and really want to move around and sing it out loud. And the last one on this one is actually a country song. It's Elvira by the Oak Ridge Boys. My heart is on fire for Elvira. I don't think it's as good as another one of theirs, American Made. Now this is kind of like the One Hit Wonder CD. It's called Hit Me With Your Best Shot, although Hit Me With Your Best Shot isn't even in this set. I think this has some quirky, maybe offbeat songs. Like the jazzy Shattered Dreams. Actually, it's called Johnny Hates Jazz. And the super upbeat, up-tempo, spirited I'm Walking on Sunshine, which when we first listened to this, my brother also said, that sounds like a Chuck E. Cheese song too. And Tainted Love. Right. Poppy synthesizer sounding song is, I think, a pretty good one. Always did, but I don't know about that name, Soft Cell. And Mary's Prayer there. Kind of a pretty soft pop song that kind of gets a lot of mellow, sentimental feelings flowing, I think. And then this is just another weird song that makes you think like you've taken Ambien and gone back in time to one of your early memories at a club during the daytime. Too shy, hush, hush, I do I. But that might be because this came from the first ad I remember from 80's music. When 80's music wasn't all that old, I don't think. And to top that off, the name of that song is Kaja Gugu, if I pronounced it right. And the next one kind of reminds me of You Spin Me Around Like a Record, and it seems like one of those kicking dance songs. But when you look at it closely, the words are pretty obscure and unusual. Der Kommissar, don't turn around, uh-oh, Der Kommissar's in town, uh-oh. And that was originally by Falco, but it was soon covered by an English group called After the Fire. And I think Der Kommissar refers to the chief inspector, and it's got a lot of German words in it. And a riveting anthem, 99 anti-war anthem, 99 Luftballons, sang in German by the German group Nena, but there's also a Americanized version, and not one of my favorite songs, but still It's Alright, Come On Eileen, which was also in Tommy Boy when David Spade's character actually started acting like a friend. And this is a low-key, kind of quaint and almost creepy song. It's My Life. I think it sounds like seagulls at the beginning, and maybe some of the keyboard or instruments, and add to that weird ambience. And you can't hear this thing very well, but he's got a low, maybe a somewhat of a quiet baritone sound. But the song, I think, is about him living his life to the best and serving others the best, just being a good person. It's my life, don't you forget. It's by Talk Talk, who also sang a song called Talk Talk. And later in 2003, there was a cover of it by No Doubt, which is nowhere near as good, I don't think. And then Perfect Way, Gritty Pity, probably another trendy dance song. And Heart and Soul, not the Huey Lewis song. Give a little heart and soul. Kind of one of those perky, feel-good girl band songs, I think. And Cars by Gary Newman. That technically came out in 1979. Kind of pretty creative theme for a song. It's just about cars. And one of the funniest songs in the entire collection, She Blinded Me with Science. And Our House, I used to like that song a lot. But it's not my favorite, but it's still a pretty good song. I like the singing and the harmony and beat to it. And finally, another kickin' inspirational song, Let's Go All the Way by Sly Fox. That's 80's Music Explosion, guys. And I like this one better than 70s Music Explosion. It used to be mostly what I listened to, especially on road trips. And a lot of these songs you might not even think to ask Alexa to play, so tell me what you think, and I would consider investing in it for sure.